Who'd you talk to? What's going on? It is me, Mike Leopard King, Mike L. This is Legit Paranormal, brought to you by LegitPodcast.com. It's February 12th, 2023. That's 0212-2023. For the math geeks, we got 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is, 5. And then, you can do 3 minus 2. Yeah, it doesn't work out. There's just a bunch of 1s, 2s, and 3s. How about that? We can all agree upon that. Joining me as always, Buddy Money. There. What's up, buddy?
Good evening, Mike. How are we doing on this lovely Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, it depends how we're doing as time passes. That's a weird thing, isn't it? That's almost like legit metaphysical,
Right. I hope this game doesn't fly away with the...
As they crash. They're going to crash. Oh, can't wait. Can't wait.
Well, speaking of flying away, I have a tremendous beer that I'm flying away with this evening. Brought to you by me. It's called... it was made by myself and a friend of mine by the name of Brian Sisto. He's a lovely Italian gentleman that lives in the good town of Johnston, Rhode Island. I'll drink to that in a minute, Mike. It's we made a double Irish red ale, double fermented, double the recipes. We call it Dirty Ginger, and she's a hell of a girl.
Attaboy, buddy, attaboy. You make it to the big time, kid.
Right, so I got about 40 of these bottles in my fridge now, and oh, good Lord, that should get me through the rest of, at least till St. Patrick's Day, if not St. Joseph's Day. So,
at least by the end of the weekend.
Cheers to Brian Sisto, because this is lovely beer, dude.
All right. Are you ready, buddy? Are you ready to do the in?
I'm ready to do the honors and bring out tonight's guest.
All right, let's do it.
Great, like my beer this evening. Our guest comes to us. He's I'm not sure where he's coming to us from.
Wow,
he's a paranormal investigator like myself. He's a medium, unlike myself, and he's an author like Mike. Welcome to the show, Rob Gutro.
Thank you very much.
Is it Gutro?
Good to be here.
Am I pronouncing it right, sir?
It's Gutro. It's close enough.
Gutro. Okay. Yeah.
Now you got to correct him, Rob, when he's off. You got to keep after him, or it'll get worse. So it's Gutro.
Worse as the show goes on. Yeah.
Gutro. Okay. Now, where are you? Where is Rob from, buddy?
I'm coming to you live from the state of Maryland.
There it is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Maryland. Drove through it. That's the states like on the East Coast. There's just a bunch of shady states that have shady cities in them. You guys have what? Baltimore, right?
Yeah, Baltimore, yeah.
We got Providence. There's New York. There's Boston. It's like shady state, East Coast. But anyway, you travel to those. That's the most I've ever. I stopped probably at a restroom at the most. That's like all I know of Maryland. So have you been there your whole life?
No, actually from the Boston area.
There you go. So he understands. He gets it.
Yeah.
So did you have to change your accent once you get to Maryland?
Well, actually, I worked in radio for about 20 years, so I had to lose the accent.
Oh wow, yeah, there you go.
Me, so, yeah.
That's because it's not easy. I just let it go now. I mean, sometimes I have to, pace myself because I can hear the Italian or the just the Northeast want to come out of my voice. You know what I mean? Especially if I'm responding to somebody, I'm afraid that I'm like too like a Muppet, too facial hands. They move too much. That's how it goes. So
well, I'm also Italian, so I get that.
Oh, there you go.
That was my next question. He's already got that one, buddy.
Jesus, there we go. I'm glad I got to have it for tonight.
So then you understand the power and the wisdom of the Nana, right? The grandmother that just tells you stuff, and you don't really believe. As a kid, I didn't believe what she was saying, but man, she believed every word she said about Malox and the.
Oh yeah,
wearing the horn. I don't even know what the horn was. The horn, I guess, was what to protect you from somebody giving you that.
Yeah, the red horn protected you from any curses.
All right, because as a kid, I remember I had the little hand like this.
Yep.
I had the horn, and they made me wear St. Anthony because that was the church we went to. And then I had a cross. Like as a little kid, I was like a little Mr. T, basically, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
I think you had it all covered.
No, I don't think I did. I think I did it wrong. But so, Rob, let me ask you this. So when people are mediums, I always wonder, when's the self-realization? That's obviously my favorite moment. I would want to know from anybody this. And then after that, do you believe that they can be mediums in maybe certain fields, but they can't use the same abilities in other fields? And what I mean by that is like skill wise, like some people can use it on a term level, street level. Some people have the ability to tap into stuff where they can talk to other people, like, from beyond, whatever. Some people they have it on a small level. They're really good at that game with you hide the ball. You know what I'm trying to say? Like the different levels of ability, because based on where you're at. Buddy, are you paying attention to me at all? What I'm saying is, based on like the level, is it possible that it's like maybe there's you and there's lower levels of you that just haven't really opened it up yet?
Yeah, I think that we all have different gifts, different levels of the gift. So, I've met people who could foretell when someone's going to pass away, and that was their gift. I've met others who had dreams of what would come. And others like me who can communicate with people and pets who passed away.
Yeah.
And sometimes some cannot communicate with pets, but I had a puppy that passed away that kind of opened the door for me to do that.
I believe that. I know that sounds so wrong of me to be like, yeah, I believe that. And trust me, if you've ever watched the show, that is not me. But I had this thing about dogs. They are my favorite. My two dogs, my two favorite people. Sorry, buddy. You're like third, buddy. Isn't that my wife's third, buddy? Let's be honest, right? They're my kids.
I think like
the rest of my family. Buddy, you're near there. You're in the top 20, right? Let's leave it at that. Anyways, I'm off topically, but the question was, you remember an Italian dream book by any chance, owned by any of your family members? It was a dream book that like you could go through it and it would tell you what your dream meant.
My mother had several of them. I can't remember if they were Italian specifically, but yeah, she was very much into that.
Those were, so I remember the one my Nana had. I remember being a kid thinking how old it looked, like how old the book, because it was kind of beat up or whatnot. That book looked like it was made when they first started to print books. Like that's how old that thing looked. I remember that. And I remember my papa also had like a Sad Sack book from like the 20s, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
It was green, dude. It was just like, we should have kept it, but it was such a. I remember the year soon being so old. But that dream book was right a lot of times, and that made me nervous, because is it right, or am I just in my head making it relate to what I want it to be?
That's probably a little bit of both, I think. I've talked to a number of people who've had different dreams, and they have to be interpreted based on that person's habits and lifestyle and so forth. So you can generally categorize a dream, but I think that everything really has to be tailored to the person.
So all right. So basically, like, in other words, you're saying like someone that's high might think that they had something like this happen. Somebody drunk, you know what I mean, might think that something like this happened. But I just found it odd that someone like me as a kid who didn't want to believe in this book, that was kind of scared by it. But then again, maybe that's my subversive mind. I can want my main mind. Who knows nowadays? But anyways, I was scared of it. And every time I read it, they were right. And I wanted them to be wrong every freaking time, and they were never wrong. Now, so when was your moment of, hey, wait a minute, I can do this? And then it must have just ballooned, right? Was it like an explosion of stuff, or was it like a slow trickle of like, what the heck?
Oh no, it was a sudden shock, really. So I was about 13 years old, and home with the family dog. My grandfather, who died in December, suddenly appeared in full color in front of me in July.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched this area of light coalesce and come together. And I sat there transfixed. He was like 2 rooms away from me. I was the only one home. And it scared the life out of me. So I grabbed the dog and ran outside. And I sat there till my parents came home.
Now, were you grieving at the time over him? Or was there any connection to why you would see him at that moment?
So I learned later. So my grandfather and I were not very close.
Okay.
My grandfather was not very close to myself or my brothers. He kind of liked to stay to himself.
I had a grandfather like that.
And so what I learned later was that my grandfather also had this ability, and my mother had the ability. My mother didn't use it; she was afraid of it. But my grandfather also had it because he had an encounter too. That my mother told me probably when I was 40 years old. So that was. It took a long time to get all the truth out.
So she did, yeah, but that's how they are, though. I mean, my dad passed in 07. I found out stuff as years went on about him. Same thing with like every family member that passes away. As years go by, like they did what? What they were what? You know, you just learn all these things. So
Yeah,
I mean, like that's a little late. She should have told you a little earlier, buddy. A little earlier next time.
Yeah. I actually have kind of a question. We kind of touched on it a little bit right just at this moment, but I noticed, Rob, being an investigator and talking to a lot of mediums and people who are gifted at various different levels of where they're at with their gift.
sure.
There's some connection to on a genetic level, like if I'm able to see spirits, my mother before me was able to hear them, and then my grandmother was able to see them. Do you experience that a lot? Do you think it's all genetic? Do you think it's partially based on genetics? What are your thoughts on this?
I think genetics certainly help, buddy, but I do think that everybody has the ability,
Mm-hmm.
and I always tell people that you can sense that yourself if you walk into a crowded room and there are a whole bunch of people there, and you're drawn to somebody to just say hello, maybe, or just look at them and meet them in the eye. Conversely, there are people that you look at and you kind of walk away from, and you're like, I don't want to even deal with them.
Right.
So you're reading their energy, you're reading their emotional energy, and that's what mediums do. But mediums read the energies of people and pets who passed.
Yeah, but all right. See, here's the difference, though. I can walk through a room
Mhm.
and pick people out pretty well, who I want to talk to. You know what I mean, who would like to play like Scrabble or like I like to play Uno. Anyways, I digress. I'm just saying, like I can name the people perfectly when I walk in a room. I'm very good at sizing people up. However, I could never walk up to somebody and tell them about anything that was in their past, because what I'm doing is just a natural instinct that I've picked up
Mhm.
because of where I'm from. Literally, where we're skeptical about everybody in the room, and for some reason, the moment I go into a room, but I don't know if you do this, you sort of size every guy up in some way or another. It's just not. It's not like a tough guy thing. It's almost like it's just what we were taught to do as kids. I mean, you grew
Yeah.
up in Boston, so come on. You don't remember like how many fights there were like in elementary school? Like when I was in I'm 74 now. When I was in elementary school, and the horse would pull the cart and take me to school. Literally, though, truth, there were fist fights between the classes every morning. It was like as if
Wow.
it was you either went to kickball or to fights. Your choice was: are you going to kickball today or the fights? That's like what it was, and no one cared. They stop you from fighting, and then you'd fight some more, and they stop it. But then again, when we fought, no one was like choking someone out or really starting to pummel them. It was mostly like headlocks, couple punches, stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
And did you grow up with that, Rob?
I did not. I grew up in a suburb of Boston, but so we didn't have that. And I think I'm quite a bit older than you are. So
74? Wow.
62. I was born in 62.
Yeah, you're not much older, if older, for real. All right. So, let me ask you this then: where were you when hair metal started to become a thing? And were you someone of like the Rush, more Boston generation, or Allman Brothers that just didn't want to hear like that kind of stuff? Is that where you kind of fell?
Did you say heavy metal or
Hair metal, not heavy metal. When hair metal was a thing like that,
no?
Bon Jovi, like where were you when that blew up?
Oh, I was already working on air as a disc jockey.
I guess what I mean more is, what were you looking like? Like, what was the you of like that time? You know how like we go back and look at ourselves during like a certain decade? Like I know in the 90s, I can find pictures of me in flannel, and they're hilarious. You know what I mean? You can find them.
You mean
So
the
it's like,
parachute pants generation?
there you go. Yeah.
Oh,
Parachute
okay, yeah.
favorite. Ugh. I got made fun of because I got the whole Michael Jordan collection when it came out, the pants, the shoes, and that shirt that was like that mesh shirt over shirt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got beat up for that. They told me I was
Yeah.
like an Indian. I'm like,
I remember
imagine
that.
back then I should have said to them it's Native American as they're kicking my ass. You know what I mean? All right. So Rob, the thing with pets is big because I'll get back to that. I know I sound like I'm off base, but I know where I'm going. With my dogs, there are moments that I speak with my dogs out loud. I talk to them as if they're people, but then there's sometimes where I say it in my head or I'm just thinking it, and I get the same reaction. So I know that dogs are really big on ritual and rhythm, and they're always trying to look for the same thing of everything. It seems like that's what they want. They're happy when they do it. But with my dogs, I tell my wife all the time, like I can tell my dog to go do something without actually telling the dog. It's just like you look at the dog, they know, they go. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does, because they look at facial expressions and they look at body language, and they can sense your emotions. So they always know. I mean, as a dog dad, they know when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're sick, when you're mad at them.
Yep.
They go in the other room. So they really do pay very close attention to the emotions, and the scent. I think scent comes into
Oh yeah,
that too.
it's huge.
Yeah. So whenever we feel different emotions, we emit different scents. So I think that's part of it too.
That's the one thing about dogs that I could do a little bit without is the obsessiveness of the smelling. Like, so what kind of dogs do you have?
So right now we have one dachshund and two dachshund mixes.
Okay. What are they mixed with?
One's mixed with a Chihuahua, one's mixed with a Terrier.
All right. So we're not talking big dogs at all then.
No, they're little guys. I used to. So we had a Weimaraner who just passed in 2020.
Okay.
She's a medium-sized dog.
How much did she weigh?
74 pounds.
Now that was like your best friend, huh?
She was my heart dog. Yeah, she was.
Yeah, you can tell in a person's voice when there's that one dog that they have or had out of all the dogs they've ever had, where it's like, yeah, that one was the one that I know that was supposed to be my dog,
Yeah, she was very intuitive. Like, as you were mentioning, she knew everything that I was going to do before I did it, and I knew everything she wanted to do before she wanted to do it.
Yep. Right. And like it's a weird connection that you get to have that people can't interrupt. Like nobody else can get within that little world that you have between you and your dog. Like I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. But your puppy right now, you're starting to get into it. Like,
yeah,
because you're raising her like you are, you realize that when she's big, she's gonna want to lay all over you. Just letting you know, putting that out there, because Rob, I used to have an old English bulldog. She was like, I loved her. That was like, she was always there for me, like a protector. And then I've got Faithy. She's one of those small pit bulls, the tiny ones. She's brindle. When I went to go get her, they were all eating, and I went across the kitchen floor, and I tapped on the floor, and I said, "Come here." I said, "Come here, baby." And the only dog that turned was her, and she came running over to me, and I was like,
"Wow,
that's my dog, right?" So, she's 5, but like she's kind of like my stalker lover. Like she wants to come up and kiss me, and she's always staring at me, and she's like a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Right? I don't know if it's because she's a female dog, and I'm being dead serious about this. I don't know what it is. And her other thing is she also likes to go lay down. So if my wife is goes lay down in the bedroom, Faith will go and lay down. That's what she wants to go do, right? Well, I just got Kobe Bo about 2 years ago. The lady I got him from sold him. He got given back because the guy said something. And the mom was a Massador, which is a Mastiff Labrador, and the dad was this short, fat pit bull. Wow. So they had 4 puppies, 3 girls, all short, fat pit bulls, and then there was Kobe. So I go to pick him up, and he's like this bag of bones. He's like his forearms were already like this long. Just he didn't look like he fit his body. I couldn't see his eyes; they were lost in all how much skin he had. But then when I saw his eye, he looked sad. He looked like he was giving back, and he looked like he didn't know what was going on. And I was like, I got you. And then I paid the lady. I went home. Now, since then, he's about 145 pounds. He's so big that when he stands up, he's about taller than my daughter, almost as tall as my wife, which she's 5-something. So Kobe's like a big, big dude. And the thing is, buddy, what I'm warning you about is he still comes up at night and smashes his head into me. He tries to roll on me for me to pet him. and it's 140 pounds, buddy. It's like wrestling like a
Yeah, she's
mom
gonna
every
be
night.
her mother's 88, so chocolate lab Rob.
Okay.
I'm expecting about an 80-pound dog out of her, but I'm a dog guy. I've had labs. It's my second lab now, so they're just
awesome.
good animals.
So, but let's go. What was the name of the dog? I don't mean to bring up. If you don't want to bring up a past dog, that's okay. But what was her name?
Dolly.
Dolly.
Yeah, Dolly Loretta. She was named after Dolly Parton, Loretta Lynn, because I adopted her from a rescue in Tennessee.
See? See, all I do is add bear to the end of the names. I got that from a friend named Tom. Faith is officially Faithy Baby Bear. And then Kobe was named Kobe Bo Bear. And what I did there was I took two of my favorite athletes, Kobe and Bo, made Kobe Bo. And it kind of made him sound like he was from down south too, right? Kobe Bo. Kobe Bo, come bring that in. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So I had fun with that. So all right. Now the dogs now. You said there's two of them. No, three of them, right?
Yeah, there's three.
Where are you connection-wise with those dogs? And I know, you know what? I want to know this. Like, where are you with all three of them? On what level?
So our dachshund, our pure dachshund, black and tan, he was very bonded to Dolly. He would eat, sleep, play, do everything with her. So he has become my second heart dog. Now that Dolly's passed. And there's another one, the little Chihuahua dachshund, his name is Dash. They're all rescues. They all came to us older. He's very bonded to me too. I can't be out of his sight for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But we just adopted a 9-year-old who's a terrier mix, and he was obviously badly abused. We're still finding out what happened to him.
They got a mean streak though, terriers.
Yeah. So yeah.
And Chihuahuas, actually.
So the terrier dachshund mix has a mean streak, and but he was badly abused apparently. So we're working through that, and the poor little guy is on Prozac and stuff. So
my Nana had a dog named Meatball. Swear to God, it was a Chihuahua terrier mix, right? She would never cut its hair. She would let it like dreadlock. She would like take care of the dog, but she didn't like comb its hair purposely. It's just a thing she did. She let it get to that length, and then she'd shave it down. Just something she did with the dogs. They came from a different generation. I don't know why.
I guess so.
The dog was never in pain. The dog used to eat more food, and he was named Meatball for a reason. But mean can be mean at times. Like in other words, like if you walked by and he didn't know you, he'd go for your ankles. It was the weirdest thing. Like he would just snap and go try to bite their ankles. Whereas like the big dogs I had would never do that. Would never think of that. You know. So Rob, when you go read a pet for someone, do you make them bring something of the pet?
So the way I do my readings is I don't do them live. I don't do them on the phone or by Zoom or anything. I have to do them by email. And what I ask people to do is send me a picture of their pet, the pet's name, and the number of people in their house, and any questions they may have. And that's it. I don't know where the people are from. I don't know where they live. I don't know anything about them. And then I just connect to the pet, and I do readings that way. And I email them because I need total silence to be able to tune in. So I can't be doing. I'm not a medium like the showy mediums like John Edwards, where you stand in front of an audience and you do an interactive.
You're not improv, is what you're saying, Rob.
Yeah, I don't do that. I really have to listen. So that's the way I do my readings. But I wrote the Pets in the Afterlife series of books to teach people how to recognize signs on their own, so they don't need a medium.
All right. So basically, you can see them already because you're just open to it, whereas you're trying to teach other people to read signs so that they could kind of see it the way you see it, right? Because they'll never kind of see it the way you're seeing it. You're just trying to help them. Is that making any sense? Like
yeah.
You don't. Right? You can't give them power, but you can kind of help them figure out how they can get their heads around it.
Sure. So I, in my day job, I'm a meteorologist. So I explain everything in terms of energy, how the paranormal is based in energy. And then I also add into that in my books how dogs and cats learn, the different levels of behavior and learn how they learn and interact. And dogs and cats use the same kind of things that they do in life, in the physical, as they do in spirit. So you may see you may feel a cat walk on the end of a bed in spirit. You may hear a dog scratching at the door. You may hear a bark or a meow from a different part of the house. You may see a quick moving shadow in their favorite spot. Those are just some examples. But there are many, many more, like nails on the floor, jingling collars, leading you to another pet that looks like them at a certain time. Those are some of the examples that I put in the books.
So basically, let me get this straight, because I did read into some stuff. So I'm a firm believer that the dogs go to heaven.
Absolutely.
Like, I like them that much.
Everybody does.
That's fine. But like, as long as we agree on the dogs part, that's like my one main thing. Because like, I feel like if there's anything that deserves to go to heaven, it's like a good dog, because they don't ask for really much. You know what I mean? And what they give is ridiculous. So, as far as when they come back, though, and you hear them, to me, that's proof that there isn't evil things that can bounce around only. That to me means that sometimes somebody that loved you or was connected to you can sometimes reach out to give you some sort of like either sign or symbol or way to navigate all this. Right? That's kind of what you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone in spirit can reach back and connect with us and give us signs that they're around. And dreams are the easiest way for a spirit to communicate with us, because when we're awake, as adults, we're taught to logically explain everything away. And what that does is that really just blocks signs that spirits are trying to give to us. So when we're sleeping, our logical mind is asleep, and dreams are the easiest way for them to come in. And usually, spirits will try to connect with us on birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. Yeah. And pets do the same, because pets can read our emotional level on those events, and our emotional level is always elevated. So they want to be there for those times.
Now, see, here's where I have to agree with you, but then present what I know the opposing position would be on that. Mm-hmm. So I do agree that they reach out on those certain times. However, people would say you're thinking about them more on those occasions. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, if they're more in your head on those occasions, you can't deny that. Like, I know they are in my head, but if I still get in contact from them, yes. So it's like, you know what I mean? You got to give it take a little bit. Like, you definitely can. I believe you, but I know that they're going to say, well, you're thinking about them more. So that is kind of true. You are putting them up there a little bit higher, right? You're trying to break it.
But you can even dream about pets or people who passed a long time ago, not even around the anniversaries or birthdays or whatever. If they know that you need to hear from them for some reason, they will do that. So our dog Dolly passed away in October, and it was a month later in November that she came to me in a dream, and she was standing up. She was not wearing a diaper. She was incontinent in her old age, and she looked at me, and I could hear her say, "Dad, I'm healthy again, and I'm good." And I woke up from that dream, and I was so relieved.
That's awesome.
But it wasn't like right after she passed when I really needed to hear it.
Yeah,
it took a little while, and I wasn't thinking of her that night before I went to bed. So, but I totally get that, when we are thinking about people or pets, it does put an idea in our head, and we want to see them.
Buddy, what do you think?
Honestly, I've had that personal experience myself where my wife passed away 4 years this May.
Oh my God.
Every holiday is different. Every anniversary is different. You're doing something different. You're doing something sometimes that's helping you to get through the holiday. Other days you're just like completely lost in that one person. So it's my first Thanksgiving. I made it through the day pretty well. Had some issues towards the end, but I ended up working through the holiday okay. I went to bed that night, and I'm not one who dreams that often. And when I do, I don't really remember my dreams so much, but I've never had a more vivid dream in my life where I was walking in the backyard of the house I'm living in now. And I remember looking in the window and seeing her and running into the house. I remember what she said to me. I remember the clarity of her voice. I remember seeing her. I remember her embrace. I remember the whole thing. And I think that's I've had other family members that have had similar experiences with not just Heather or just other people who have passed, and I think that's one of their, yeah, like you say, you're sleeping, your subconscious is open to almost anything at that moment. I would gather, and that's when they can that's when they can get your attention. That your attention isn't on all the activities of the day.
Mhm.
That's when you're most able to focus on what they're going to tell you. And I firmly believe that that's one of the ways that the dead communicate with us. Absolutely.
Thank you, buddy, for that long proclamation.
That sounds more like a visit, though, buddy, because usually when you can feel somebody or smell their perfume or touch them in a dream, and you remember that, you remember the feeling of their embrace. that's what's known as a visit, which is much deeper than even a dream.
Right. I think my nephew and my sister-in-law reached out to me about a month ago. He's about 12 years old. He's having some issues with school, issues like fitness and stuff, issues with his own mental health. They were driving down the road and they heard a particular song on the radio that reminded him of her. And then he's like, I smelled Auntie Heather. Like, what do you mean you smelled her? It's like, I smelled what she smelled like. I had her smell in my nose again. It's just like, how does that happen? But I mean, that's happened to me. That's happened to countless people that I know. They wake up from a dream, or they just in life they'll think of something, and they just get that smell, that olfactory sense. It's absolutely amazing.
I think anytime you come out of a dream where you have a sense, like one of your senses goes off, that's creepy to me. Like I've had a couple of dreams where you wake up and you remember feeling something in the dream. But then again, I have really strange dreams, Rob. I'll tell it again. When I was younger, I guess too young for it, I saw the Elephant Man on TV and cable. Back when like your dad would use the black box to steal HBO. Anyway,
I saw it in the movie theater.
Did you?
Yeah, and it just really stuck with me.
So it as a little kid upset me to the point where I was having nightmares like every night. And now I'm sleeping on the living room. I'm not eating. My days are getting weird. I don't remember my age. I know I couldn't have been like more than 13. So, but it changed who I was as a little kid. Like I now had to deal with like being scared of something. And it was something about that movie that just terrified me. And I don't know what. Like I don't know what it was. So next thing you know, I'm sleeping with the priest. Told my mom to make me sleep with the cross or whatnot, the other. But like getting over something like that in dreams, I eventually get to the point where, and I do this all the time now, and it kind of sounds cool, but it's not because I don't get to experience dreams. I stop dreams or I take control of dreams as if they're movies. Like it happens all the time where I'm like, this ain't happening. It's definitely not going this way. And I've stopped my dreams. Like I always at one point in my dreams realize I'm dreaming and ruin it. At least the ones that like I remember from the middle of the night. It's always things like I'm in the dream, but I try to fight against dreams so hard that I got to a point where I've actually stopped somebody from stabbing me in a dream. I was stabbed in a dream running up the street towards my grandmother's house. I remember this dream vividly. I had it more than once. And I remember the knife going in my stomach repeatedly. And I remember saying, you're not stabbing me. This isn't happening. This is that, the other. And I walked away from the person. I have no blood. I remember just walking away. Now, people say I'm crazy because I have these dreams, but I thought that was a way for my mind. It broke from the Elephant Man as a kid. It was trying to protect itself from bad dreams so badly that it developed this concept of like, any dreams that I'm livid at all of that I can remember, I take over to make sure nothing scares the crap out of me or bad happens. Is that weird?
No, I've experienced the same thing. I remember a dream when I was a kid that I was falling down an elevator shaft, and I woke up so that I wouldn't fall down the bottom of the elevator shaft.
Yeah.
And I had a similar trauma after watching Jaws as a kid in the theaters. I kept dreaming. I think the whole week I dreamt of sharks on the around the shoreline, and I wouldn't go in the water, but it was horrifying.
Yeah.
So
that Jaws screwed up kids on the Northeast. Like nobody, they should do a documentary on that. It scared people so badly that just if that dun dun back in the day, if they heard that, you'd freak. You're on the street freaking out about a shark. Think about that for a second. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's why I didn't like Cape Cod as a kid.
There you go.
I think that's probably why. Yeah.
Yes.
It was traumatic. Yep.
So when have you been able to swim in the ocean since?
I don't usually swim in the ocean. I'll swim in a pool every now and then, but I'll put my feet in the water in an
Oh,
ocean.
so
That's
buddy,
enough.
when you go to the beach, you don't go swimming?
I go in up to my waist, and that's about as deep as I will go, Mike.
Really?
We have a lot of fish that are out in this ocean right off Rhode Island that will eat me, and I do not want to go in and offer them my body.
You know what's weird, guys? When I go in the ocean, if I'm gonna go in the ocean, I swim because I feel like if I'm going in the ocean, I might as well swim. You know what I mean? So I
Sure.
will swim physically in the ocean. I don't know why. I'll go under. I'll see what's going on. I mean, Dave that time saw a shark at every Italian's favorite beach where they wore gold chains.
Scarborough, yeah.
Scarborough, there you go. Scarborough Beach. They used to wear gold chains and hair gel and use baby oil. You think I'm kidding? People used to use. How has the sun changed, Rob?
I
That
remember
back
those
in the day.
days.
Remember that day of baby
I
oil?
remember those days. Yeah.
How about
I did
Panama
that,
Jack, the whole series of tanning lotions by Panama Jack, the guy with the hat, whatever?
Yeah.
They sold lotions, buddy, that you would rub on your body to
Yep.
get more burned.
I remember, Mike. I did baby oil myself and like fried my Irish skin.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and I did it once, and I learned my
Yeah,
lesson.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody has that one bad burn, right? You
Yeah.
get that one bad burn that sets you straight on the.
Where you
I'm
can't
gonna
lay
wear a hat.
down for a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, because no one understands how it's like it goes from it hurts to it's stiff,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
everything's just, that's the worst. All right, yeah. Now I'm stuck on Cape Cod. So let me ask you this though: Jaws did mess up a lot of kids, right?
Yeah.
And it's weird because that was a time where there was such little sources of information or media, right? That a movie could come out like that and everybody could see it all across the country. And it had the effect of scaring people that deeply.
Mhm.
Like now you see stuff on the news, like there's stuff flying over states, and we just get all this crazy. And people are like, yeah, well, yeah. If they saw Jaws now, I mean, personally, it's a perfect film. You can't beat Jaws as a film. It's
One of my
freaking
favorites.
it's such a great film. I'm not saying that. I'm saying is I don't think it would shock people. Well, I don't mean that word. I don't think it would upset people like it did nowadays, like it did back then. Because back then, like I said, we didn't have this influx of like stuff that, right? We didn't have a back catalog of all this horrible crap that happens.
Right.
And
Yeah.
swimming in the ocean, you know, there could be a shock. You have to have that, no, like in your head, you have to know if you're in the ocean. Well, so are they, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now, let me ask you about being a meteorologist for a second, because
Sure.
here's the thing with being a meteorologist, right? They try to discredit the meteorologist, and I don't know why. That's like the only job that I can think of that people are always out to try to prove wrong. They don't do that to the sportscaster. They don't do that to the anchors. But when the meteorologist comes out, everybody wants to, older people at least, always wanted to prove the meteorologist wrong, and I don't know why. You know what I'm trying to say to you? You must get that, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But so people don't understand what a microclimate is, and they don't understand that the topography where they live has a direct effect on the weather that they receive. So, also the altitude of where you live.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I know that here in Maryland, because I live close to the capital, Annapolis, as you go further north toward Baltimore, the elevation goes higher. So if there's a wintry mix here, they're going to get snow up there. But people, they look at the forecasters and they think that, oh, well, they can say wintry mix, but it's snowing here. Well, they can't account for all the microclimates in their viewing area. But so I always tell people to go to the National Weather Service website, because those are forecast zones, and those are much more accurate than anywhere else.
But in general, like the problem is that it's just another job or position that's gotten a bad take because of stupidity. Like, in other words, they're always wrong. No, they're not. Like,
No,
weather changes. Weather changes. Like that's the one thing that I always say to people. Like,
It's dynamic.
Especially in New England, like where we are.
Sure.
It was warm 2 days ago. like really warm. Remember, buddy, during the day it was warm.
Yeah.
Last weekend it was 5 degrees, and then it was 45 the next day.
Yeah.
It was 60 degrees the other day up here. Like, whoa.
So in southern Maine, the wind chill was negative 43, and then 2 days later, once the front passed through, it was 90 degrees different. It was like 50 something.
Crazy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's also climate change, because climate change causes extremes. We've got when climate change really kicked in, and I've noticed it since 1995 when I was covering all the tropical cyclones around the world. We are now seeing more tropical cyclones, stronger storms than ever before, and more devastating. But yeah.
Let me just interrupt. So here's, I think, where the debate always comes in, because some people are just they don't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
See, when people talk about climate change, now, on the base level, for the people that are going to push against it, let me say this: the climate is always changing, in my opinion. Right? It's always evolving. That's just what the climate does. Now, do I think that people are making it worse? Oh, of course we are. I mean, that's not even a question. So, what I'm saying, this is what the argument is. They'll say, like, oh, this, it's that, the other. Yeah, I agree with you that it does. Climate's going to change no matter what. Like, that's just how the world is. It just keeps going. Whatever happens to that world, and it'll be all right. It'll figure itself out, right? Like, the oceans will still go. Like, we'll figure something out. We might die, but it'll figure itself out.
Right.
I'm being honest. Like, the planet itself will always figure itself out through, like, whether it has to kill off everybody and keep rolling. It'll eventually keep evolving. I agree with that. Now, they say that that it's us not making it worse. I don't see how that's even possible. Like, again, I would love to hear how all the emissions that I see that are black smoke down in Providence go out into the air are not bad for anything involved or changing how the climate is. Has to, in some way.
Absolutely.
The 80s alone with the hairspray must have killed the ozone layer.
Yeah, the aerosols,
Yeah, the Aquanet. Buddy, you used Aquanet, did you not?
I did. I put it in my beard, and then I had hair back in those days.
Did you spike it?
I did, Mike. I spiked it. And I had a potato gun that Aquanet was particularly good for.
Yeah, they got a spiky red hair.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's so red right now. It's ridiculous. Dave, I don't even know where I put it. Must have threw it away.
I actually got a question for you, Rob. While Mike's searching for whatever he's searching for.
Okay.
As a paranormal investigator, as a medium, as a meteorologist, do you ever pick up on the barometric energy in the atmosphere and use that, or do you feel like that sometimes alters how a spirit can come through and talk to you? Or
yeah, that's a really good question, buddy. So weather does absolutely affect the ability for an earthbound ghost or a spirit who's crossed over to interact with us. They're all energy based. So they're energy based with memories, personality, and knowledge of the life they live. So in order to get strong enough, they need energy. So when there's a low pressure system and there's a lot of water energy and there's wind energy, that helps those ghosts, if you will, the earthbound ones or the spirits who cross over, to get strong enough to communicate with us. So there was really something to it with those old black and white movies with the lightning storms, because lightning is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the surface of the sun.
Wow.
And when you get lightning in an area and you have an earthbound ghost that you're doing an investigation in, that lightning is going to add to that energy is going to add to that ghost to communicate.
And what about energy from like the phases of the moon?
That I'm not so certain about, because I'm not a planetary scientist.
Like full moon, for example. Have you ever investigated during a full moon or during a thunderstorm and found that the activity is heightened?
Certainly thunderstorms. I have to confess that I never really paid attention to the moon phases when we were investigating. Usually when mediums go in, we go in during the afternoon hours or the early evening hours before the moon comes up. And we go in a week after the technical team has been there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I haven't paid attention to the moon, so sorry about that.
Have you chased storms?
No, sir. I am one of those guys that believes in being cautious, and I don't mind sitting behind a computer looking at radar.
Yeah, I see. I'm 100% on your side. Like, I would
Yeah.
never chase a storm. It just doesn't seem like that even makes sense when I say it out loud. You know what I mean? Like, why would I chase a storm?
Why would you mess with Mother Nature?
Well,
It could kill you.
so when it comes to paranormal stuff, here's how weird I am, buddy. You know this. If we saw a Bigfoot ever, we would charge at it, and because that would be a great way to go out. That's death by Bigfoot.
Right.
However, when it's Mother Nature, I will always run the other way, because that will just take you in a second. It doesn't care how fast things go. I saw this clip of a sinkhole that happened in a pool on top of this mountain when these people are on like this business vacation. It just opened up in the middle of the pool and it dropped 43 feet and took one person right with it. And then like 2 nights ago, there was that Jesus Christ symbol, and was it Peru that got hit by lightning? Did you guys see this photo?
No.
My wife was showing me.
Brazil?
Yeah, Brazil.
Yeah.
Did you see that lightning?
Photo.
My wife was showing it to me. It's like it hit. It looks like. So is that? So I don't even know of the monument. Is that? Are you familiar with it at all? What I'm talking about is that.
Yeah,
Jesus,
I am.
Jesus, right?
It actually, I think it overlooks the city of Brasilia.
All right, but it is Jesus, right? I want to make sure I'm getting this straight.
Yes, and because they unfortunately built it on the highest peak, it's going to be a lightning rod.
Yeah, so the strike is so beautiful though, because it hit him in the back, and where you see the lightning, under the lightning, there's lines of like light, but they're all going like this, as if like, man. See, I'm one of those people that believes that like everything's vibrations and stuff like that, where people can be going on while other people are going on, and we don't know it because we're just on a kind of different channel, almost on the same. That's weird. But like when you see that lightning strike, you see all the other energy that's around it, not just the lightning bolt. You see like what it does to the sky, even like near those lines. Like what? So what are those made of? When I see those extra lines for a lightning bolt.
Those are positive and negative charges in the atmosphere. So, and they can follow sideways, horizontally. That's cloud to cloud or cloud to ground. So, cloud to cloud and cloud to ground lightning can happen at the same time.
See, buddy, he's one of the only people that could have ever answered that question that I've had about lightning.
Right.
Like literally, whenever I see lightning, there's always that little bit of like whatever energy, and I'm like, well, what the heck is that? Like, what do I call that? I don't even know what to say that is. What am I saying? It's. I used to tell the kids it was lightning clouds. So I didn't know what else to tell them.
Some people refer to cloud lightning as heat lightning, but it really isn't heat lightning. It's cloud to cloud lightning.
Yeah. So my Nana actually claimed to be hit by lightning twice, and then she tried to tell me that she told me it was true her whole life. So did my grandfather, my papa. And then she tried to tell me that once you get hit by lightning, you're more likely to get hit by lightning again. I'm like, how is that possible? She's like, oh, it's true. That's not true at all, right?
Well, not unless you decide to keep going outside when it's thunderstorming. So I do know that there is I think there's a park ranger in Maine that was struck by lightning more than 10 times, I think. Unfortunately, I bet, and he lost toes, he lost his hearing, he lost part of his sight. I mean, again, the lightning bolt is 10,000 degrees. Most people die when they get hit by lightning.
And I'll bet you he never played the lottery once. That's the kind of guy that he doesn't even bother playing the lottery. Like, dude, you've been hit by lightning 9 times now. Would you play the Keno? At least Keno. Would you at least play Keno?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me play those. Rob, you're from the Northeast. I don't know if it's the same as we get down to Maryland, but sometimes Keno will just bring white-haired people, almost like myself, and ruin the joint. They stand around like Keno zombies. I literally have the term. Buddy, you ever see a Keno zombie?
Yeah, they're in almost every convenience store in Rhode Island.
Yeah, he's just standing there with a ticket the whole time you're trying to purchase something. And another quick complaint, Rob. I don't know how they are, quick marts and stuff like that. But you ever have the guy where you go up to the counter to present your goods and he just looks at your stuff and he goes and tells you a price? And you just give him the money.
Yeah.
You never question anything at a convenience store. Like, I don't add it up in my head correctly. I'm like, what did he say? 7 change? He must be right.
Right. Yeah.
So why don't I know that then, Rob? That's my point. If I know all this stuff, I know I must be getting scammed a couple of cents here or there. Like, what's the issue then?
Gosh, I don't know. I can't help you with retail stores.
You can call me stupid. It could be stupidity. It could be stupidity on my part. Like I just, go along with it. I just go along with stuff. My point is like certain stuff I know I got covered, right? I know when I'm super sensitive. I know like who people are. But there's certain times I get taken advantage of, and I feel like I know I am, and I just, like a dope, just go right along with it.
Well, I think a lot of us tend to trust others, and there's certainly nothing wrong with trusting others. I mean, I always tell people that if you trust someone, that you are more trustworthy. They can trust you more.
Yeah. I said that the other day. The reason somebody's not trusting you is because they know that you can't trust them. That's usually like the biggest sign when someone's like really like they can't trust you because they know you can't trust them.
Yeah.
So they deem everybody untrustable. That's a telltale sign, but most people don't see that. Like they refuse to see that sign. So you pick up on everything basically.
Well, I can read energy. I can read living person's energy as well as people who passed. So, but the other part of this is that I'm not the best judge of character because I do trust everybody first, and then I wait for people to do me wrong because I think that everybody deserves an equal chance.
And I'll even take an apology. I'm one of those people where they can do something wrong. As long as I get a quality apology, I'm okay with it. Like my grandfather used to say, like, as long as it doesn't affect my wallet or my wife, I'm happy. That's what he used to tell people. Like that's all he cared about. As long as those two things didn't affect it, he was fine. So, all right, buddy, about this the pet medium. I know you had another question, so go right ahead.
Yeah. So I understand what a lot of people talk about dogs and how they have soul, and I completely believe that. Now I have 2 cats. I think cats are a little different. I think they're a little bit more. Like everybody has that idea of cats. They have that like their own like disturbing personality sometimes. Like they like we're subservient to them rather than the opposite way around. Is that like is that how they're really like? Are they? I mean, my cats love me. They're by my side and stuff, but they still like scratch me in the forehead to wake me up when they're hungry. Is are cats actually like that in their souls? Is that a deep soul thing, or is it?
I think it's just a genetic disposition that cats are more independent than dogs. Dogs are certainly more dependent. But every living thing has a soul, and a soul is memories, personality, and knowledge of the life that we lived on Earth. So, and because every living thing has a soul, it all crosses over if it wants to. So 99%, I have found that 99% of all animals cross over. Once in a great while, an animal will stay behind if they have a reason, like being dedicated to their pet parent, and they don't want to cross over until their pet parent does. I've only encountered 3 earthbound ghosts as animals. There may be more, but for the most part, everybody's pets are going to cross over. And yes, cats tend to be more independent when I communicate with them in spirit. I did one reading for a cat where the cat said that it's okay to adopt another cat, but the cat has to be the opposite sex because I want to be the only male cat in the house. So that it was like pretty firm about that. But yeah, it goes back and forth.
So see, I always think of cats as if they know more than they know. Like they act like they know more than we think they know. You know what I mean? They're like, I got this. I'm covered. You know what I mean? I don't need you. But whereas dogs are like, I go to the bathroom. I mean, like the most simple things they have to come ask you about. Like, I need water, dude. Like, can you get me some water? Like my dog will now. Kobe goes up. He goes up to the water dish. He'll look at me, and with his gigantic paw, he goes ping, and he'll knock it across the room like a hockey puck. And I'll be like, so you need water. You know what I mean? Like, great way to tell me. Like, how's it tell you need to drink? He goes up and he just hits it with his paw and watches it skid across the linoleum. Like, it's like, buddy, that's a bit much, right?
That's pretty cool.
My lab that just passed away, she used to hit it with her paw and flip it several times in the air until I would refill, or sit there and bark at me until I took care of it for her. But yeah, it's how they can communicate, I guess. Where my cat will go upstairs And she'll meow at me a little bit. She doesn't get anything from me. She'll go upstairs and either drink from the dog's dish or flip on the faucet and actually lick there and lick the water that comes out. So
It's disgusting. It's gross.
I feel like the cats are a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more, yeah, like you say, independent, maybe a little bit more intelligent to a certain point.
So,
all right, go ahead, Rob.
So last summer, there was a scientific study that came out that analyzed the perception of cats in the household. And they concluded after studying many cats, that cats actually take in a lot more than we think they do.
Mm-hmm.
And as a medium who's communicated with cats, I can tell you that is absolutely true. I just did a reading for one cat, and the cat told me something that I never heard from another animal before. The cat said the words Taylor Swift. Now, I don't listen to Taylor Swift, so she's like the farthest from my mind. But I'm doing this medium reading with this cat, and the cat says Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift. And so I'm typing this out to the pet parent, and I said, I don't know why this cat knows Taylor Swift. It turned out the mother's favorite singer is Taylor Swift. And she would always talk about Taylor Swift in front of the cat, which blew me away.
Yeah, it made me feel bad. This poor cat had such bad taste like the lady.
I'm not going to judge music. But anyway, so cats are really do absorb a lot more than we think they do.
Right.
Yeah, but see, I don't think that necessarily makes cats more intelligent than dogs. Could you agree on that? Or no? So
one of the books that I cite in my Pets in the Afterlife series is by Stanley Coren. If anybody wants to learn about how dogs think and how they behave and their intelligence level, I recommend Stanley Coren's books, because he really did a lot of study for that. And he concluded that dogs have the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old human child.
Yeah.
He said that cats likely fall into the 3 to 4 year old category. But that's
on average, a little higher.
Yeah, that's just his assessment. That's not my assessment. But so that was a scientific and behavioral study that he did.
All right, but that sounds very female to male. Like, in other words, I always feel like cats and dogs get some sort of male-female split, with feminine, feline, and then you get the canine, the dog. Like, in other words, guys are always dogs. It just always seemed like that throughout life, growing up as kids. I don't know why that's impressions in my head. But if there was a dog and a cat in a scene, the dog would be the guy and the cat would be the girl. Am I wrong in saying that was in our heads?
I've heard other people use that reference before.
Sure, yeah. Well, when we were growing up, that's the way that it was always perceived or presented. Like all the Disney movies, if you think about them, most of the dogs are male and most of the cats are female. And that became a subconscious thing, I think, with many of us. But today we know that it doesn't matter. They're male and female. So what I'm saying is, though, see how the measurement of that intelligence goes? That's basically sort of what it is with men and women. In other words, women are more intelligent on average, whereas men have the spike, right? Like when they did that test, I don't want to start a war here, but I think it showed that women on average were smarter than men. But when it would peak, the men's peak would exceed with the woman's peak. In other words, the smartest guy was smarter than the smartest woman, but on average, they're smarter. Does that make sense to anyone? Well, if that's what they said, but
you disagree with that? I'm saying, like, I'm trying to.
I know a lot of women that are a hell of a lot smarter than I am.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not saying that. You guys heard me, right? Women are definitely smarter on average. In other words, women are smarter than men. I'm saying that flat out. I'm saying when you get the spikes of like the outliers, it's the Hawkins, those kind of guys. Like it's the spike of intelligence is men. On average, we're dumber. I get that. What did she say? Sorry, when you talk to animals, she's right. Do you actually hear a voice? And what I mean by that is there any characteristics to that voice, or is it the same sort of sound or thought?
It sometimes there is. So if I hear a dog bark, I can tell if it's a higher pitch or a deeper pitch. But for the most part, it's pretty flatline.
All right, see.
So, and they often repeat words that they heard or that they learned. They'll show me, favorite places. They'll show me toys. One dog kept telling me that he loved fish and he had a fish toy. And I was like, that's weird because that to me, that would be a cat.
Yeah.
But when I did the reading, I didn't know where the pet parent was. Turned out the pet parent is in the Netherlands and they lived I guess they live in a fishing village, and the dog mostly ate fish and had a stuffed fish toy, and the pet parent sent me a picture of that fish toy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously, that you called it like that. And two, I think the misconception is that dogs don't like fish, but they actually will eat fish, right?
Yeah.
But you think that's another one of those splits where fish went to the
cat. Sure.
Which dogs, I mean, come on, they'll eat anything. I mean, when I say anything, any of us that have ever owned a cat and a dog at the same time, you know what I mean by dogs will eat anything. It's disgusting. I talk to my dogs and I'm like, that's disgusting. Why would you do something like that? They're always wagging their tail. They're always friendly and happy. Like one of the dogs I call the rock face mullet head, and she goes nuts. And then Kobe I call stupid face, dum, and he loves it. So it's like I insult them and they laugh. It's like I have fun with the dogs. I'm like, come here, stupid face. Look at that face, how dumb it looks. He's like, ha. Like, I kind of use the Will Ferrell method, but in a positive way. Like I insult them, but I'm being nice. It's just the sound of my voice, I think, is that they're listening to.
Yeah, they're listening to the tone. So when you're playful, even though you're saying things like that, they pick it up as being playful.
So then let me ask you this. I always say to my wife, when I yell at the dog, don't talk after I talk, because my wife's voice is so friendly to these dogs that when they hear her voice, they just get happy. So if I'm trying to get the big dog down and I go, Kobe, get down. And then she goes, come on, get down. He just starts wagging his tail. Like he heard what I said. He was attempting to do it, but then he heard her voice and he's just like, hey. So she can't even really yell at him. There's something about her tone of her voice. She can't even get a deep enough voice where he takes her serious. Which is kind of scary because he's a very big dog. I digress. Rob, what do you got going on like nowadays? What are you other than being a meteorologist? What websites you got going on? Your books? What's new with that?
So I've got a whole bunch of things going on. So I just published my fourth book in the Pets in the Afterlife series, Pets in the Afterlife 4, about cats, Messages from Spirit Cats. Pets in the Afterlife 3, by the way, Messages from Spirit Dogs, just won an International Book Award for the third year in a row.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is. It really for that long. Any award for third? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm really honored. It was named one of the best books on grief and loss with pets.
Wow.
So I'm about to start writing my 11th book, Ghost on a Medium's Vacation. This one's going to be in Scotland and Ireland.
There you go.
And I love those medium's vacation books. I continue to do pet readings. I do them by email. My information's on my website. It's either robgutro.com or petspirits.com. But I only do them on weekends because I'm doing the meteorology thing during the week. And I am booked out a year from now, which is crazy.
It seems, you know what, though? It seems like everybody we talk to, they are booked out that far. And we're booking out that far. So it's like, there's a lot going on. I'm glad you're doing really well. I
need to quit and retire, so I can do that more often.
Yeah, no, but I'm going to tell you this. I can tell that Dolly made a huge difference in your career trajectory in life in general. Like she really, that was the dog, right?
Yeah, so Dolly continued to propel me that way. But Buzz was the one that passed when he was 7 months old and opened the door for me to communicate with pets. So Buzz is behind me on my backdrop. He was 7 months old when he was killed by a car. So he was the one that really blew the doors off my ability to communicate with pets. And sometimes when we lose a pet in a very short lifetime, has a very short lifetime, it serves a purpose, not only for us, but for others. And I know that Buzz's short life led me to help heal people around the world. And I've done readings for people all over the world, which is crazy. I'm just I consider myself just a simple guy that just happens to be able to communicate with people and pets who passed. And I want to bring some healing to everybody who's lost a pet.
That's amazing. That's an amazing thing. It's much better than what me and Buddy do. I can say that much. Buddy,
I don't think so. You guys bring a lot of knowledge and great discussion to open people's minds, and to me that is really critical. The world needs more people to be able to do that. So I really kudos to you guys for putting this together and getting the information out there.
I appreciate that. That's literally what we were trying to do with this whole thing. It's to have conversations that are more natural, and then find out more about different things. Because like you're a jack of all trades in that sense. Like I learned about electricity, all the way over to here. You know what I mean? Like pets. It's like I want to learn about everything as much as I can from somebody. I know that sounds weird, but that's like what I want to do. You tell me I only get a certain amount of time. Well, I'm going to try to get everything I can that I want to know out of this person, or ask them, see if they can answer it. And you know what? You played ball perfectly, even though we sound a little bit deranged. I know that. We come off as a little, Buddy, what did the lady call us that time? She called us before.
Yokels.
Yokels. She thought we were going to be a couple of yokels. I don't know what that means, but I know it wasn't a good thing. And then she was happy with us afterwards. So I know what we look like, and I appreciate you just hanging in there.
And we didn't even talk about my love for superheroes and comic books. So.
Yeah, I'm a huge comics fan. I would talk to you, and he knows. Yeah, I would. We'd cut it because I would talk. If you ever want to talk comic books, man, I am so critical. I was a big Marvel DC guy coming up. I remember when my papa used to get the ones that were quote unquote ripped. Yep. And I get a stack of comic books every month, right, from the different places. I was reading. Iron Man was a drunk. It was just I miss it. I miss all the characters. I hate how they made Hercules not a big deal. Like Thor is huge, but Hercules is just son of Zeus. Like, wait a minute, what's Zeus? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but never mind. I don't get this. I didn't like the Moon Knight series. I didn't like that. I talk all night about that. I want to thank you for being here, buddy. You have anything you want to say to wrap it up?
I do. I want to thank you, Rob, for coming on. It's nice to hear the insight of an investigator, both an investigator and medium, and your perspective as far as meteorology goes. And it's actually pretty important as a paranormal investigator to be aware of and recognize. It's kind of cool to hear somebody else talk about it. Next week, if there's no football on, there's no Super Bowl on, there's no baseball on yet. Maybe there's some basketball, but we're not busy doing anything else, which you won't be. Join us for our next week's guest is John Russell. He's a medium. He's an author. He wrote a book called Riding with Ghosts, Angels, and the Spirits of the Dead. He rode his motorcycle named Melissa thousands of miles across the country, experienced encounters with Civil War phantoms, the intelligence behind crop circles, a ghostly Native American spirit in a haunted woods, UFOs, mystical weather, and a ton of other stuff. He's got quite the bevy of stuff that he's done over the years, and he'll be joining us live at 7:05. Between now and then, I just have one little blip to play you really quick. Hold on.
Yeah, this will take forever.
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! One more, baby! One more! That's my dear friend Nick McIntosh, lifelong Eagles fan. Cheers, Nick, and go Eagles! I know that pains you very much, though, Mike. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
No, I'm just. I feel so sick that this kid's going to lose a lot of money. It sounds like I'm seeing in my future, his future, a loss of a bunch of money.
It's Rob. Eagles.
Yeah, they might score again, but it doesn't matter. The game's going to be 34-31. I already told you that. Rob, I pick football games pretty well. The USFL started. I'm sure you're aware of that. It happened last year. Through the first couple of weeks, I was 19-2 against the spread with the USFL.
Wow.
like I have an odd sense of picking weird games, right? And I keep saying this one's going to be 34-31. Chiefs are going to win last seconds. I said the Eagles will score first. The Chiefs will score after that. Kelsey first touchdown for the Chiefs. I'm like, Gatorade's going to be orange. The anthem was under. And then now I got to wait for Rihanna's dress and who she brings up on stage. Those are my predictions. They sound like nonsense, but you can bet on them and you make a lot of money. Honestly, though, Rob, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Look forward to having another conversation, expanding that. Anytime you want to talk about comics, I'm a big fan of both sides of them, even the old like the non-Marvel comics, DC, like I said, Sad Sack, that kind of stuff, Beta Bailey.
Awesome.
Anyways, so let me wrap it up. For Rob Gutro, for Buddy Monique there. It is me, Mike Leppy King, Mike Ellis, was Legit Paranormal, brought to you by legitpodcast.com. Tomorrow night, we're going to either have our conspiracy theory show brought to you by Block Island Ghost Tours, or we're going to have a repeat of one of our paranormal shows. Then on Tuesday, we'll have It's Legit Metaphysical World at 8:05 with Auntie Dale. Other than that, go to our website, legitpodcast.com, where we stream every show live on the site. The only night we do not have a show is Saturday.